Hello. Good afternoon, and welcome to the American Advertising Federation's web seminar series, From the Source. I'm Phil Sewell, Manager of Digital Communications and New Media here at the AAF. Today's presentation will be the first of our six-part series entitled Candid Conversations, focused on diverse and women vendors who are interested in doing business with ad agencies, advertisers, and media companies. Today we're talking vendor success stories and are happy to have with us Eric Harris, President and Partner of Sixth Floor Developers and Digital Advertising and Marketing Agency, as well as Calista Hill. We're going to go ahead and get started now. I know that some of the attendees probably won't be able to make it because of the weather, but this will be recorded. And at the end of the presentation, probably later today or tomorrow, it will be posted on our website. We'll send an email out to everybody that registered with the link to where you can find this recording. Just a few technical guidelines to keep in mind before we begin. While you can hear us, we won't be able to hear you. Any questions you have for Eric or Calista can be entered into your question box and sent to the staff. You should be able to see it. It'll just say send question to staff. If you have a technical question, go ahead and send that as well. And we've got various interns and employees on here as well, and we'll hopefully be able to help you out. Also, some of those questions will be answered during the presentation, but keep in mind that there will also be a question and answer session at the end of the presentation. We will try to get to as many questions as possible in the allotted time. Please let your colleagues who are unable to join us this afternoon know that today's presentation will be recorded and can be accessed through the AAF website. With that, I'm going to go ahead and pass things over to Calista so she can introduce herself and Eric, and then we'll get things rolling. So Calista, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Phil. Hi, everybody on the line. We're glad to have you there this afternoon. I am Calista Hill, and I am the Small Business Manager for Leo Burnett here in Chicago. And today I've been given the pleasure to kick off our Candid Conversations webinar series, and we're glad for everybody that's on the line today. Today we have the pleasure of having Mr. Eric Harris to be our first presenter. Eric is President and Partner of Sixth Floor Developers, and they're a digital solutions minority-owned company that has had some success in our industry. So we thought we'd start our series with Eric and him giving some suggestions about his journey going from a prospect to a partner and share his success stories with us. So with that, I'd like to introduce Eric Harris.
Let me just start. Hi, this is Eric Harris. First of all, I want to say hi to everyone, and I'm glad. I know out in the Northeast, you guys are struggling a little bit with the weather. Unfortunately, I'm not able to be in the Northeast. I'm actually in Brazil. Just to paint a picture, just to tell you some of what I do and what I like to do is I always feel it's important to give back. So I'm literally at a school in a favela working with some students, just helping them learn English. So that's currently where I'm at. It's 92 here, so it's a little different from there. But let me just start off and tell you a little bit about Sixth Floor Developers. What we want to do, Calista and I, for this sort of webinar, Candid Conversations, is really, we want this to be a very candid discussion. We don't want it to be that we're just talking to you all, but we really want it to be interactive in the sense that if we together as a group can come up with the right ideas, give back to each other, I think that's what it's all about for being successful together. We know that this industry has been difficult and challenging at times, especially for people of color. And sort of one of the points here is just sort of being able to share our experiences and hopefully provide, whether it's guidance, whether it's wisdom, whether it's hopefully some thoughts that allows everybody to be able to just participate and just again, the goal would be later on is that when we see each other, whether it's at events, whether it's out, whether it's maybe we're going to share our emails at the end, whether it's just a simple email to provide an opportunity for us to continue to reach out and give back, because I think that is what the key is for when we say candid conversation. It really has to be candid and it has to really be interactive. So starting with that, let me tell you a little bit about Sixth Floor Developers. Sixth Floor Developers is an interactive website development agency. We started off in 2004, and just to kind of tell you sort of what our strategy was, what our positioning was we felt that when we looked at the music industry, if you look back at the music industry in 2004, there were a lot of lawsuits taking place against younger users who were listening to music online. Well, lo and behold, we thought that that would be an interesting opportunity for us to go at that space, which is the music industry space, because we just felt that young people were not going to not listen to music online. They were going to actually continue to listen to music online. So you need to embrace it, and you need to figure out a way to do it. I'm just trying to click here, but okay, so let me just go back here. Sorry. To tell you a little bit about us, we basically, as I've mentioned, we're a digital agency. Our strengths are that we really feel strong about digital strategy, creative design, integrated marketing. When we talk about rich application development, essentially what I'm talking about is when you think about iPad applications and sort of all the other applications that you're now seeing online. So essentially what we do is we're a solutions provider for companies online. So anything below the line, we really feel comfortable and we really feel strongly about our solutions. So that being said, some of our clients we have worked with, we continue to work with a number of clients, including Overbrook Entertainment. And when I mentioned rich web application development, Overbrook Entertainment, which is owned by Will Smith, we're working on an iPad application which will teach individuals how to write a movie script, and we're actually going to have the movie script from The Karate Kid that will be in that iPad application. Pepsi We Inspire is an online social media site that we created about a year and a half ago, and it continues to grow just with respect to when we think about social media, when we think about individuals that are getting more involved, in whether it's young users, whether it's individuals from that are older. Everybody is now obviously becoming internet savvy. And again, when I talk about that, when I talk about our company, really again, what our strategy was to position us for this new wave. When we all think about digital, we realize the importance of digital in advertising. And so essentially, as I looked at 6-floor developers, we wanted to position ourselves as really, again, I've come back to what I said earlier, is to be a solution provider for clients below the line, and that's what we do. So now let's, I guess, to talk a little bit, and Krista, please feel free. This is where we really want to be interactive with you when we talk about tactics for success. I think the key is that you obviously need to look at your company and what does it take for you to be successful in the industry. Everybody's going to be different. It's not going to be exactly the same, but there are going to be some consistent themes that you will actually have to do. And I think one of the things would be is just being, how are you positioned from a sustainability standpoint and what that means. So when we talk about that, business strategy and positioning, our strategy, again, is to really be an online solutions provider. And having that, being that online solutions provider, we position ourselves as basically saying that anything that you want to do online, we can do it, and we can provide that solution for you. So that really, when we look at our strategy and our position, that's what we look at for us. When
Eric,
we talk about other tactics for success, go ahead, Clifton.
I was just wondering, and with that tactic, have you, what has been, how have you, gone to your potential clients trying to show that differentiation, that, there are tons of digital solution companies out there. How has that positioning work for you?
That's a great question. Thanks, Clifton. What we position is basically saying we're good at two things, really, when we think about it: creative design and technology. When we look at ourselves, there are some companies that are just strong from a business, from a design standpoint. There's some companies that are very good from a development standpoint. So our strategy and positioning is that we can cover really essentially both sides, which is the design as well as the technology aspects of that. So I don't know if that does that answer your question for you, Clifton?
You and I have had some conversations just on, I guess, the challenge of, as far as our industry and minority suppliers, on the outside looking in and trying to figure out how they can best sell their niche, or what is their key service that they can provide. So I just kind of want you to, go into that a little bit more. So yeah, you covered that for me.
Right. I mean, I think too, and that's a great question. I think what this industry now is saying, and I think it's both from Cliff's side, which is at Leo Burnett, and then also as you have your clients, whether it's a General Mills, is that how can you, as a company, come in seamlessly and be successful with us, working together. It's all about working together. And what is it that you can bring to the table that's going to provide that opportunity? And really what we say is that we feel we're very strong in design, we feel we're very good in technology, but we also feel, and I think that all of us know as minority vendors, we also believe that, one, we have that understanding sort of whether it's multicultural marketing, but also, to be honest with you, our size in a lot of occasions provides a cost-efficient solution for the client. So we are actually a lower cost provider than what you might see from a traditional large agency standpoint. So you have to sell not only sort of that being that minority vendor, but also really being able to provide a low-cost solution, and that's what we do.
And that's probably because of the flexibility, correct?
Exactly.
And so
yeah, exactly. And I would just, yes, exactly. What other thoughts? What would you, and I guess I would go back to you, Costa. What, from a Leo Burnett side, when you are looking at minority vendors, what are you actually, what are you looking for, and what is important for you that kind of stands out? I just want to go back and forth, because what we wanted to do from this interactive standpoint is both have a perspective, not only from me, but also from the agency's perspective, which I think is very important.
Right. Yeah, it is key, when you start looking at a large agency family, with all the services we have, within the family, when a diverse supplier is trying to kind of break into that family and become a partner, it's key for them to try to get as much understanding of what the agency's services already involve and how they can bring benefit to that, or what they can bring to the table that the agency family may not have. And so from that aspect of the diversity supplier, it's key in knowing what your niche is and what you can provide that your other peers possibly in that area don't necessarily have that insight to.
Okay, good. Networking, developing, tactics, as we continue on tactics for success, and I'm going to let Costa jump in here. I'll take the first part of this, and then Costa, feel free to jump in. When we think about networking and developing relationships, to me, that is really, and I'm going to give you a couple of case stories here, of what I feel has really helped 6-4 become successful. From the networking standpoint, I just feel it's critical because we are in a scenario that we really have to work with each other and feed off of each other and understand sort of the different scenarios that are taking place within the industry. And for me, being able to attend the AAF events, being able to attend a lot of these, like for example, this event right now today, it just helps build camaraderie for me, building relationships and sort of building that network. And how has that helped me? That's really, I guess, what I want to talk about. How has it helped me? Well, I've been able to meet Connie Frazier, who's been very, very helpful in the development of 6-4 developers. She's just given, she's been selfless, where she's just given so much and has asked for nothing back. But that relationship has really helped me become successful. I had another scenario where Tiffany Warren called me one day and basically said that, hey, Pepsi's looking for a minority vendor to work on an online solution, which ended up being Pepsi We Inspired. Well, if I had not attended events, if I had not networked, then there's no way that I would have met Connie. There's no way I would have met Tiffany. And the reality is that you have to build your relationships. If you do not build your relationships, and we all know to try to go it alone in this industry, it sets you up for failure. I don't know how strongly I can say that, but it will set you up for failure if you do not build those relationships. There's been times where I'm like, wow, I got to go to this event, not sure I really want to go, but we know as minority vendors, we've got to do twice as much, and it's just the bottom line is you've got to develop the network, and you have to build the relationships, and it will prove very fruitful for you as you go forward, because you will get that call, you will have that contact, that because of you working hard and developing those relationships, it happens.
Yeah, and Eric, I think the key
Chris, I don't know if you want to add to it.
Yeah, I think to the key point to add to that is it's a process. Chances are you're not going to meet one of my peers, me, or one of my peers at an event and get a call tomorrow. Those relationships take time to build and take time to work, but you have to be willing to make that sacrifice to do that. Sometimes I get suppliers saying, why should I go attend all of these events? What's the cost? What's the return for me? Am I going to walk away with a deal when I leave the vendor fair? And chances are, I can't say that you're going to walk away with a deal, but you will probably walk away with a contact that has an opportunity to lead to a deal. Will that be tomorrow? That building that relationship, and I think some of the diverse suppliers lose sight of that. It may take time. That door may not open tomorrow, but that is an opportunity to start the process.
Yeah, so just echoing on what Clifton said, it is a process. It's not an overnight, but it is definitely a process, and it does take time. And the call from Tiffany, I didn't meet Tiffany on day one and got a call day two. This was down the road, but I had developed that relationship, and so that she thought about me. And again, we go back to, what does your company do in positioning? So she knew, okay, oh, this is what these guys. So it wasn't that this is, what did they do again? But it's just the constant being able to tell your story and having a very succinct story at that. When somebody then thinks of you, then they're going to call you.
And you know, chances are people tend to do business with people they're comfortable with and that they know and know their capabilities. So the more we're out there networking and having those opportunities to learn more about each other, the more opportunity we have when that project comes up for me to say, oh, yeah, you know, I met Eric at whatever event. Let's give him a call and give him an opportunity to bid on this.
Okay, third point we have here, just understanding industry trends. I just think it's crucial as you talk about developing the relationships, and if you talk about meeting clients, you just got to be intelligent about what's taking place in the industry. You really just have to be up to speed. I think we all know what that means in the sense that it's changing. This industry is changing right now. There's a lot of things that are fluid, that are moving, and just being able to understand what it is that's going on. Because again, as part of that networking, as part of that relationship, the really untold story is how well are you talking and how well do you understand the industry. And if you do have a good command of the industry, then it's just going to give someone confidence in that, okay, this is someone that clearly knows what's going on, and we want to give them the opportunity because they do know what's going on. It's just important. I can't underemphasize that enough, that just being able to know what's the day-to-day, and it's not even necessarily the day-to-day, but what are the overall trends in the industry and what's taking place, and then what does that mean for your company and how are you positioned in that changing sort of landscape. And right now, as we all know, this has been a very difficult period. We've had a tough time. I actually feel like things are starting to get better, but I feel like for minority vendors, it's always going to be tough and it's always going to be difficult. So anything that you can do to help yourself and help yourself position yourself to get to that next level, and I just feel like having a command of what's taking place in the industry is key.
Eric, when you say that one of those trends is the issue of certification, I know a lot more clients are requiring or asking for that piece. Have you seen that active in your projects and your relationships? The certification requirement.
Yes. Definitely, it seems like for all the larger clients, one of the first things that they ask is, are you certified? That's pretty much the number one question that I get before they jump in. They want to know that I'm certified. So being certified clearly is going to help you get in the door. So I would definitely say that, yes, that's important. I see that every single review or question and answers that I might have to fill out, I won't say it's number one on the list, but that is on the list somewhere that they want to see that you are certified.
And I just want to pause and just let those participating know that we're glad to have you today. At any time, feel free. You should see on your toolbar an opportunity to submit a question. And we want to be able to, you won't be able to be audible on that question, but I can take that question and feed it back to Eric and try to get you some answers today, as well as we will offer our emails at the end to provide feedback for other questions that we may not get back to. So feel free to enter those questions at any time. Back to you, Eric.
Because again, yeah, we don't want this to be. I mean, we're here for all of us, and so the last thing we want to do is just feel like, okay, we're going to talk to you, and here's what you do, and it's not. Yeah, we're trying to share. We're basically trying to share our insights, but we're not trying to just talk through them. We're trying to just interact with everybody so that we can all work together at this. And I'm sure there's some brilliant thoughts out there and questions. So if there's anything, as Clarissa said, please go ahead and feel free to get at it. I think we touched upon this a little bit when we talk about the advice for business owners. It's clearly you've got to do your homework depending on what client you're looking at and sort of what their strengths and what their strengths and what their, I don't know if it would be weaknesses, but to really understand how can you help sort of that client, and just again making sure that you know there's going to be certain. The first question obviously a lot of times is going to be, what do you all do, and how well can you be helpful to us? So those are going to be just basic 101 questions that you just got to nail succinctly, intelligently, and fluidly. And that's just doing your homework and just making sure that you're up to speed on the sort of the basic questions that you might get initially on, whether it's that meeting that client for the first time or just meeting someone from a networking standpoint, just being able to kind of walk through those very quickly. The next slide, I think the reason why we put this up is these are actual questions that have been asked for me in my scenario by clients that I needed to, and so there's no right or wrong answer here. What I wanted to be very clear is that this is actually a question, the questions that you'll see now that we're putting up there that have been asked of me, and I guess when you think about your business, how would you answer it, and what does that mean for you? And so when it was talked about what is your key point of differentiation versus competitors, again, we basically are coming back to, again, what I said earlier before, is our strength is our design as well as our technology. We feel that we're second to none. We're very creative, but we also have a very strong pedigree from a back-end technology standpoint. And so we're very comfortable at that, and we feel that that allows us to differentiate ourselves from our competitors. Now, there's obviously companies that are very good that do what we do, but when we look at our flexibility, when we look at sort of being a low-cost provider, with us being relevant both in the multicultural space and as well as in the general market space, we look at that as being a differentiating factor when we start to think about our competitors. So really being able to have that nailed and sort of really thinking through where you are positioned in that, I think is obviously helpful. Chris, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, and I think the point that you made, more than just being able to say it, if you can bring to table opportunities where you've helped a client, helped an agency in some area that they did not have that insight to, that supports your point of differentiation. You want to have those things in your back pocket and ready to pull, ready to be able to show those as examples of how you can offer up something to the table that some of your peers or your competitors may not be able to bring to the table. You can go to the next one.
Okay. Yep, next slide. So again, here's another question that was asked. And really, for us, what we basically, when I looked at this question, for me, was just really having a strong organization process in place of how do we communicate with our clients. And I guess most importantly, as we all know, communication is going to be the key factor in you being successful with your clients. And then that question then, what I obviously broke down from there, is how do I communicate? For us, we put a software system in place a lot of times on some of our projects where we might communicate online. Now, again, everyone is going to be different, but really, what is your process to be successful in working with your clients? And sort of for us, it's just having the right processes in place once we start a project to make sure that we're all on the same page. And again, I keep on coming back to communication is key.
And I definitely agree with everything you said. We actually got a question. You know what? I'm going to say that for later. Continue, Eric, and I'll bring these. I'm getting questions online. We want you to continue to do that, and we'll bring those. This one, actually, we'll wait to the end. So you can continue with your next question, Eric.
Okay. Next slide. Hold on. Okay. This, I think, for us as minority vendors, I think it's really crucial that we try to be aggressive in getting in early. I think many of you all have had experiences that maybe you get asked, mid-process, late into the process. So it's paramount to me that what I said here, and again, I'm just telling you candidly from my perspective. Everybody's going to have different perspectives. But how I answered this question was I essentially said this: if I can provide a cost savings for you, the best way for me to provide a cost savings for you is to start off initially as we begin this project, because then it allows me to kind of think, or allows our team to really think through sort of what we're trying to do from A to Z. And really, I think we all have had experiences where you come in maybe late into a situation. It's hard for you to be effective, and it's hard for you to really be a cost savings guru at that point. But really how I answered that was essentially saying that if the earlier we can get into a project, it allows us to be helpful in consulting and engaging, developing that strategy, developing what the next steps are. I feel that's when I can really be very helpful in providing a cost savings to the client.
I got a question for you, Eric, on the line. We got a question from Teresa, and she's asking, excuse me, how did you get your first break? Being, before you had experience with the big name agency or client, how did you go about getting your first break?
That's a great question, and that really comes down to me networking. I had a friend who was the CFO, and currently is the CFO for Bad Boy Online. I had told him, hey, Derek, I'm doing this internet thing now, and would love to talk to you at some point of, whether there might be an online, might be an opportunity for us. Well, lo and behold, Diddy popped out. I don't know which name you want to use now, but they really were looking for an opportunity to create a more engaging presence for Bad Boy Online. Sure enough, after Derek gave me a call and said, hey, why don't you come in? It's on you, but pitch it. Let's see what happens. But again, it was just the relationship, having that relationship and being able to tell that individual that I was now working in the online space. He afforded me the opportunity to go in and pitch. And from getting that first opportunity, it kind of snowballed from there. We did Bad Boy Online. We did Vanessa Williams. We did Stevie Wonder. So we really kind of got engaged in the music space. And again, that was really our strategy, was to position ourselves to really take advantage of sort of the disintermediation, all the things that were happening in the music industry, as we know, from CDs to digital sales. We really felt that could be an interesting opportunity to start. And once then starting in that music space, we were able to do some cool stuff, and some general market clients as well as multicultural clients started looking at us and said, hey, we like what you do, and we started to just do more things from there. But really that first call from Derek helped us really get in there.
So it kind of goes back to your networking, relationship building, and knowing how to position, what's the best positioning strategy for yourself.
Exactly. That's exactly right. And again, it's not rocket science, but it's just really doing all the things that you've got to do to get to that next level. As you know, you can't just say, here I am. You've got to go out there. You've got to meet and greet. There's times when you just got to put that extra. It's basically another. I looked at that as being the second job. Your first job is obviously to make sure that you're building a legitimate company. The second job is to really be able to tell individuals that I do have a legitimate company and here's what we do.
Sounds great. I just wanted to announce again that you can feel free to ask any questions. If you submit that question, we will definitely get it over to Eric and give him an opportunity to give you his viewpoint. Going on, Eric.
Okay.
I think we have one more slide.
Okay. Oh, okay, let me go back. I'm sorry. Okay, this is an interesting, very interesting question. I think that this is going to be something that is going to continue to take place. And again, as you see, the question is, how do you see yourself performing in the general market compared to the multicultural market? I just thought it was interesting in that as we think about ourselves as being minority vendors, you're going to have clients that want to know, yeah, we might have a niche and maybe it's multicultural, but can you be comfortable working in the general market space? I feel that's basically what, when you look at this question. And so essentially how I answered it was basically saying we do stuff not only in the general market, and we do have an understanding of the nuances of the general market audience, but we're also seamlessly comfortable with moving into being in the multicultural space. Do I see a difference? Yeah, there is definitely, as we all know, a difference between the multicultural space than the general market space. But I think for us, what we said is that we're comfortable, and our track record has shown that we've done award-winning work both in the general market space as well as the multicultural space. But I like the fact that we are a minority company, and we want to stand by that, but we are seamless in being able to approach each space. And again, that then comes back to what we talked about before when it comes to understanding the industry, understanding the trend, and then what does that mean for you as a company? How are you positioned with respect to that, whether you're positioned from a multicultural standpoint, are you able to be effective also in the general market space, and just being able to have sort of that story and being able to tell it the right way that you can say, hey, I can come in and make a difference on both sides of the equation.
I was just checking. It doesn't look like we have any new questions. Teresa says, thank you very much. That was a great answer.
Okay, great. I guess as we throw this out, we'd like to know from the audience, is this helpful? Are we being candid? I guess is what we're saying. We're being as candid as we can. Is this helpful to the audience out there?
Yeah, I do have another question. I'm going through it now. Let's see.
Okay.
Okay. This person says, trying to see her name. Looks like she's in the direct mail business and as women-owned for over 16 years. Let's see, the diversity purchasing. I guess this one is for me. The diversity purchasing arena never seems to include our services. Diversity includes IT, temp agencies, and other areas. Never mind. How do I go about contacting the right people? That could be various reasons. I believe that came from, looks like Robin. I know at Leo, it's not that we limit it. We don't have only IT or only staffing, but there are other. We have a lot of diversity suppliers in the production arena, so it's not that we limit it to those areas. Getting to the right person, I know that can be a challenge here at Leo Burnett, and I can speak for some of my other peers that participate with the AAF also have a supply diversity person or a person in purchasing that is responsible for identifying and trying to develop relationships with diversity suppliers, that being women-owned as well as minority-owned. So you may check into whatever agency you're trying to get into and see if they have a person in that role. Sometimes that person may not have that title, but however, it could be someone in purchasing or sourcing that does have that role for identifying potential suppliers, and diverse suppliers should be a part of that mix. Hopefully that answers the question, Robin. If not, feel free. We will give our email addresses, and you can feel free to reach out to me after the fact. Let's see. Got a comment? Eric, you got some comments just saying you're right on point. The questions have been insightful.
Great. Great, yeah, we're open for questions right now. So if anyone has questions, and I guess we'll continue to talk as we go through questions. But again, I think the key is for us together, the camaraderie, the networking. I keep on saying that. I really, for me, to get up every day to do this and to see others that look like me, that gives me a chance to say, hey, I can make a difference, and that I listen to their stories. That gives me encouragement. And I'll give you an example of that. The AAF and AdColor this year now are combining forces to do the AdColor Awards. And what I love about that, what I love going to that, is really to see that, wow, we're out there, and we are making a difference, and we can make an impact. And that's what it's all about. And I look at us as minority vendors. Yes, we can make a difference. If we get the right opportunity, if we get the chance, and it's not easy. There's no easy way to get at it. But having the opportunity, we know we can be successful.
And speaking for, sometimes we get that same question, and I think I see a question there about how we attend the different conferences and fill out the paperwork and no response or don't get any feedback. What's the next steps? How do you go beyond those first entry-level conversations to be able to try to develop those relationships? And I can speak for myself and some of my peers that I think were registered online, and some of those that participate in the AAF's Mosaic Supplier Development Council. There are many others like myself, not just myself, many others that work with the AAF to develop these programs. You definitely reach back out to those people again. I think 2/3 of my day is spent answering telephone calls sometimes, but pushing that relationship and developing that relationship has to go beyond just that initial introduction at that fair, and reach out to those people. And many times I know for ourselves, when we attend those events, I take our strategic sourcing group and heads from our production, and those key people that either they're making those decisions or their direct reports are making those decisions, and they bring their business cards. They welcome that opportunity to have those further discussions. And yes, it is a challenge, and yes, it does not happen overnight, but many of us are in those positions to help develop and try to build those relationships. So reach back out to them. Don't allow that one conversation or that one forum to be the end-all be-all of it. I think Eric alluded to it. It takes work.
Right. And then I would even say that for Callista's offered her time is that you're going to have scenarios where maybe there's a question that maybe I should, and again, this is all of us being together, maybe I should run this by Callista. And you'll see at the end, you'll have her email. But this is what you do. We're trying to win together. I think that's what it's all about. As we all know, there's no I in team, and I think that's what we all want to do is if we can work together, it's going to allow for more of us to be successful and just continue to try to get to that next level, whatever that is for your company positioning.
And exactly, and we're trying to develop this as partners. There may be, and I get that a lot of time. I call these folks and I never get any response, or it just may be that there is no opportunity in that area at that time. Personally, I try to be as upfront as I can. If I'm aware that there's no opportunity because of prior relationships, or if there's a standing contract and I'm aware of that, I try to let that potential supplier know as much as I can what that status is, so that they are prepared and know if that opportunity is going to be back up for to provide a bid list in 6 months or 2 years, if there's some contract in place. If that's the scenario for that particular service arena, I try to let the suppliers know. So it is definitely worth having those conversations with those contacts you have. Eric, we're coming up to a quarter till.
Okay.
I'm trying to see, go through and see if we have any other questions here. What suggestions do you have for creating a "you had me at hello" type statement to deliver a potential client, to deliver to a potential client versus just giving a pitch?
I'm sorry, say that one more time.
No problem. It says, what suggestions do you have for creating a "you had me at hello" type of introduction or statement to deliver to potential clients versus just giving a pitch?
You want to start that one off?
Pardon me?
You want us to take that first?
You want me to take the first stab at that one? Okay.
Yeah.
I think the other side of that, many times I ask when we're standing at a event, I ask the suppliers that key question that you know, that what I have to take back as a representative for Leo Burnett when I'm attending that event, those events. I have to take back something that is unique, that one thing that's going to make that producer or that associate producer think about this particular company as an option for this next bid, this next project. So I often ask them, what's that one thing, that one nugget, that one niche that you have that sets you aside from your peers, from other folks that can offer similar services? And one of the first things that I get from suppliers often at a diversity event is that I'm diverse. And it needs to be more than that, because of, Eric alluded to being able to, yes, offer the multicultural information and insight, but are you able to operate in a general market as well? So it needs to be more than I'm a diversity supplier. You got to be able to have, in that opening statement, give that person something that identifies you as different from your peers in that area. And if you can get in a project or something simple that you've done that supports that, I think that's a key piece of that.
Yeah. I mean, I guess I would just echo on that. I thought that was great. That's a great answer. It's just, as you said, just having really being able to just so that not general, why you want to be able to stand out in someone's mind, and as you said, to move from just a hello to strategically why we can make a difference. And I think it's going through sort of where you're at and what is the strength. What do you see your core competencies and being able to nail those in that conversation?
Well, it looks like we've about come to the end of the questions that we've received thus far. Before we close out, we would definitely like to thank everybody that participated today, and we definitely hope that this was helpful, and would like any feedback that you could provide as far as how the presentation went, and if you thought the format was helpful, or any suggestions you have for future sessions. The committee is putting together, working with the AAF, we are putting together similar conversations throughout the year, so stay tuned to your email blogs. And if we can put up the commercial, I guess, for the next one. I believe it's the last slide on that presentation.
Hi, Callista, it's Phil.
Yes.
I just wanted to let you know, you do have some more questions. If you wanted to expand your question tab.
I'm not seeing it. Okay.
It sounded like you're having some trouble reading the questions because it's so small, but if you expand the question tab, and if you want, I can actually read some of them, but if you're not able to find that.
So there's an expand.
Yes, in the upper right-hand corner of your questions box, next to the left of the X, there's a little button with an arrow pointing to the northeast.
Okay.
And it should open it up, and then you can drag the corner and expand that box. And it looks like you've got a few more questions there.
Okay. see that we have more questions, but I'm not seeing any more questions.
Phil, you can.
Yeah,
we'll answer them.
Well, first of all, I wanted to answer Tanya. Will you be sending out the PowerPoint? Yes, we can certainly do that. I have everybody's email address who registered, so if you would like to receive the PowerPoint, why don't you send me an email? My email address is P as in Paul, S as in Sam, EWALL, and that's at AAF.org, PSEWALL at AAF.org, and I will send you a copy of this PowerPoint presentation. And to answer about the questions, I'm sorry, there may actually not be any more. You answered Teresa's question. What suggestions do you have for creating you had me at hello type of statement? Did you answer?
And there were a couple that I kind of integrated into the discussion.
Sure, and so that may be it. So what I wanted to do here is bring up this last slide. Sorry for the and if you want to just talk for a moment about that. Sorry.
Okay.
I'm very sorry. Technical difficulties, and I'm going to get off the line.
There we go. As I mentioned, the AAS and committees are putting together these webinar series, and we're hoping that they're helpful. The next session is specifically talking about supplier diversity in advertising and media and communications. It's scheduled for February 16th from 2 to 3 Eastern Time. Anita Langley will be the presenter for that particular session, and she's a supplier diversity consultant and manages supplier diversity initiatives, and her company manages supplier diversity initiatives for several agencies. So she'll be a good person to give some insight to the certification requirement and the supplier diversity programs and why those things are important. So that's a great session that we hope that you will stay tuned, and you will be receiving registration information about that session coming up on February 16th. I'm going to check and click in.
And let me just put a personal plug in for Anita, and I'll go right back to because Anita has been very helpful to me just with respect to, there's been a couple of occasions that I've been on some strategic pitches, and sure enough, Anita has been involved, whether it's on the client side or even whether it's been setting up, sort of giving sort of guides on sort of the do's and don'ts in that maybe strategic pitch. So she's been very, very helpful, and I think a great person to really be able to get some insight from.
Great. I think that's a great plug for the next session. So again, we are thankful for all those that had the opportunity to participate. We hope this discussion was helpful. Please provide your feedback. You have our email addresses, and if you didn't copy them down, you will get that from Phil at a later date with the whole presentation. So I think with that, I'm going through the questions now, Eric, and I think we've, for the most part, covered those. So that being said, I think we will prepare to close out. Again, we thank all of the participants on the line for dialing in and listening to this conversation. Hopefully it's been helpful, and hopefully you can set your calendars to participate in the next session, February 16th. Thank you, and have a great rest of your day.
Take care, y'all. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I just want to say thanks to all of our participants, and definitely to Eric and Calista for taking part in this. And hopefully we will see everybody back here on February 16th at 2 o'clock. If you haven't registered yet, you can go to www.aaf.org/fromthesource, and it should be the second one listed there, and registration is open, so feel free to go ahead and do that. And if you're living in the Mid-Atlantic or the Northeast, please be safe driving home. And with that, I will say goodbye to everybody.